My boy Shedeur Sanders went out there and did exactly what we thought he was going to do. Exactly what he should have done. And that was none other than to be a bona fide baller, dog. I mean, bro, this was a very impressive day for my boy Shedeur Sanders, coming out there in the very first preseason, under them lights, in the NFL. I mean, what more do y'all want me to say, bro?
Breaking news. Shedeur Sanders just rolled into Cleveland like he personally owns the end zone, and then acted like he had the lease agreement in his pocket. First game for the Browns, and the man didn't just show up, he showed out with 2 touchdowns that had defenders questioning their career choices. This wasn't football. It was a live audition for NFL Madden Cover 2026. Stick around, because this game wasn't just crazy. It was Shedeur-level chaos.
Preseason debut, and listen, I'm going to give you your flowers, Emery. This does not happen often, but you have been on the Shedeur hype train, or at least you've been shutting down the Shedeur Sanders disrespect. But now you got to see firsthand his performance in the Browns preseason opener. He humbly said on the sidelines that he didn't think he was sharp at all. But now I want to get Emery's thoughts.
What you expect shouldn't surprise you. So I'm not surprised by this, Kiana, and I appreciate you giving me my flowers, because at the end of the day, we saw this before against Florida A&M when he first debuted at Jackson State, Florida.
Subscribe if you think Shedeur should be the starting quarterback. The Browns owner and coach probably thought they were running some sort of football science experiment. Keep Shedeur on the sidelines, feed him scraps of first-team reps, let him marinate in second-team drills, and maybe, just maybe, he'll learn his place. Except Shedeur isn't the kind of guy who learns his place. He's the kind of guy who turns your controlled experiment into a fireworks show and then casually walks away like he didn't just burn the whole lab down.
I hear what all y'all saying. My name is Willie B, man. Hey, he the real deal. That's coming from Willie. Hey, now how y'all feel now? How y'all feel now? No matter what he do, how you feel now? That man playing for his daddy. All you haters, if you hate Shedeur, you hate football. How can you not love that story? Deion Sanders, absolute legend, icon. Now his son, picking up the pace. Balling out.
They gave him the football equivalent of a hand-me-down bicycle with one pedal missing, and somehow he turned it into a high-performance sports car that blew past every defender like they were stuck in traffic. You could practically hear the sound of Cleveland's front office gulping in slow motion as he started slinging passes with the accuracy of a sniper who just drank a double espresso. This wasn't just a good game. This was Shedeur planting his flag in the middle of the stadium, metaphorically daring anyone to pretend they hadn't just witnessed it.
At the beginning, I can say this, you know, he probably had a little chip on his shoulder, okay? He went 3 for 7 in the first quarter. He went 3 for 7, in which, if you ask me, I kind of feel like 2 of them things could have been caught. That's just me. I digress, though, okay? But like I said, he went 3 for 7 for 19 yards. But then the second quarter came. And then my boy went out there and he was 8 for 11 with 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. In which in one of them drives, that man ran 5 plays for 60 yards in under 2 minutes. And he did all of this without throwing an interception.
The plan, if you could call it a plan, was clearly to ease him in, limit the pressure, maybe let him ride the bench a little longer. The problem? Shedeur doesn't do ease in. He does break the door down, rearrange the furniture, and repaint the walls in victory colors. 2 touchdowns later, the same people who barely gave him first-team snaps were suddenly looking like they just bet their life savings on a horse that forgot how to run.
Shedeur Sanders let y'all know tonight that it was only a matter of time. Through 3 quarters of play, Shedeur was 14 for 23, 138 passing yards, and 2 TDs. Not to mention, he was 13 for 19 for 103 passing yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. Now, the next question is the question that we all been wondering. Does Shedeur deserve to be QB4 on the depth chart? The short answer is no. After what we was able to see tonight, every single doubt that people had against him, whether it was his arrogance, whether it's his leadership, his accuracy, his pocket presence, his ability to process his progressions, he checked off every single...
It's not even like he played desperate. This wasn't some rookie trying to claw his way into relevance with panicked, chaotic energy. No, Shedeur played like a man who had already read the playbook, memorized the defense's weaknesses, and planned exactly how to humiliate anyone who doubted him. He looked prepared in a way that made the Browns coaching staff's limited reps strategy look like it belonged in the Comedy Hall of Fame. The funniest part? They probably thought giving him less time with the starters would protect their investment, keep him fresh, keep him humble. Instead, it just made the explosion bigger when they finally unleashed him. Every snap was a told you so moment. Every throw was a keep sleeping on me statement. The crowd went from cautious optimism to full-on disbelief faster than you can say quarterback controversy. Even the camera operators were struggling to keep up with him, probably wondering if their lenses had suddenly gained the ability to capture lightning.
First time we ever saw him play college football, went out there, balled, led an upset victory against FAMU. First time he debuted as an FBS quarterback against a highly ranked TCU squad. He went out there, put up 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in an upset victory over TCU in Fort Worth, Texas. So why wouldn't I expect him to come out here in his debut, show up and show out? Because what we saw from him in this ball game was all the things we saw from him throughout his career: touch, timing, anticipation, elite level accuracy, toughness within the pocket, willing to stare down a gun barrel and fire a shot downfield, showing that he can escape outside the pocket, better athlete than given credit for, and showing that he can make plays when he threw a nice little floater down to Luke Flourier down the sideline for a chunk play.
You just know the sideline vibes shifted instantly. Players who hadn't gotten much of a chance to run routes with him before were suddenly realizing this wasn't a warm-up act, they were part of the main event. Receivers who might have been bracing for overthrow after overthrow were suddenly catching passes that felt like they'd been delivered with a built-in GPS tracker. Even the linemen blocking for him seemed to get a little extra fire, because nothing makes you protect your quarterback more than realizing he might actually carry your whole team on his back. The owner, meanwhile, probably had that smile through the pain expression. On the one hand, your team is winning, your young quarterback looks like a revelation, and the stadium is roaring. On the other hand, you now have to admit, publicly, you can't exactly lecture the team about sticking to the game plan when the quarterback who's been operating on a restricted practice diet is making the game plan look like a suggestion box in the break room.
He shouldn't have been no 5th round pick, dog. He should not have been a 5th round pick. Now, he plays on the Browns. I'm a Steelers fan, so like him doing well, it's like, do I really want to see him? Not really. I'm rooting for the brother though. I'm rooting for him. Probably one Cleveland Brown player I root for. But 14 of 23, 138 passing yards, 2 TDs. He missed a couple throws here and there. I was like, damn, Shedeur, really? You missed that? You missed that throw? But he made some really nice, calm, collected throws. He looks like an NFL quarterback.
By the time the second touchdown hit the scoreboard, it was over. The experiment had failed, the underdog storyline had flipped, and the fans were chanting his name like it was the only sound they wanted to hear. The Browns had accidentally created their own problem, a quarterback controversy they didn't see coming, starring the guy they'd been treating like a project instead of a weapon. It wasn't just the stats, it was the energy. Shedeur played like someone who had been keeping score. Not of points, but of every slight, every time he'd been skipped over, every rep he didn't get. The real kicker? This wasn't even supposed to happen yet. The schedule didn't call for Shedeur mania this early. The Browns wanted to slow play it, control the rollout, maybe give him a mid-season debut when things were calmer. But football has a way of ignoring calendars, and Shedeur clearly doesn't believe in waiting for permission.
Cleveland Browns, we told you start Shedeur Sanders today, it was going to be a problem. Shedeur Sanders got 103 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception, QBR rated 113.9, future starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Y'all ready for that convo?
And while the owner and coach might try to spin it, deep down they have to know. They were wrong. Dead wrong. They underestimated the guy, tried to keep the lid on, and now the whole league just saw what happens when you finally give him the ball. Good luck putting that genie back in the bottle. The look on the faces in the press box said it all. Half disbelief, half panic, and a touch of, we should probably start printing jerseys with his name on them immediately. It's one thing to have a rookie flash some potential. It's another thing entirely to have him dismantle your carefully laid quarterback hierarchy in his very first outing. If this is what he does without the benefit of full first-team reps, imagine what happens when he actually gets them. Imagine what happens when he's throwing to receivers he's been building chemistry with for months instead of days. Imagine what happens when he's reading defenses with the comfort of knowing the offensive line knows his every move. You can bet there are a few defensive coordinators already losing sleep, replaying clips of those touchdowns in their heads and wondering what they did to deserve this.
Well, my goodness, it is about to be one hell of an interesting week in Cleveland. That's right, Cleveland. The kind of thing that Shedeur Sanders needed. The moment was not too big. He handled it maturely. and went out there and had a good game. I got the game still on.
For Cleveland, the decision isn't whether to start him. It's how to explain to the fan base why he wasn't starting all along. Because once you've seen a quarterback perform like this, there's no going back. You can't pretend you didn't see it. You can't pretend it was a fluke. The tape doesn't lie and the scoreboard doesn't either. So now the Browns are in the awkward position of having their supposed future quarterback become their present, right in front of everyone. And while that might not have been in the plan, it's the kind of problem every franchise dreams about. Unless, of course, you're the guy who has to admit you didn't see it coming. And in the middle of it all, there's Shedeur. Cool, composed, maybe even enjoying the quiet satisfaction of proving every single doubt wrong in real time. He didn't just play well, he made a statement. A loud, unmissable, can't ignore it statement. And the only people more shocked than the fans in the stands were the ones who thought he wasn't ready. If they were expecting a rookie still learning the ropes, what they got was a quarterback already ready to swing from them. If this is what Shedeur does on a night when he's supposedly still adjusting, then the rest of the league might as well start drafting apology letters now.
138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 106.8 player rating. Shedeur Sanders was absolutely dogging the Panthers tonight. And before I hear any of the hate comments, oh, it's practice, it's preseason. He was playing with third-string guys versus the first-string defense of the Carolina Panthers. I do not want to hear it. He was making incredible play after incredible play. Were there mistakes? Yes, but as a rookie, he's going to learn, he's going to grow. But what people have to realize is you have to give him a chance to make mistakes before you write him off. Absolutely incredible for Shedeur Sanders. I'm excited to see what his next game looks like.
Because he's only going to get better. That's the scariest part. This wasn't the peak. This was the warm-up lap. This was the equivalent of someone showing up to a pickup game in jeans and flip-flops and still dropping 40 points. You give him more time, more reps, more weapons, and it's going to look less like football and more like a weekly highlight reel festival. What a night. What a game. What a performance. It's the type of night where people go home from the stadium and immediately start Googling Shedeur Sanders rookie cards, like they're sitting on a stock tip. He didn't just play well, he played with the kind of authority that makes the doubters sound like background noise. Every throw, every read, every decision was a deliberate I belong here moment. And now, all those critics who were loud before, you could hear a pin drop in their corner. It's almost unfair how poised he looked. And that's without months of first-team chemistry. Imagine what happens when every receiver knows his exact tendencies. Imagine what happens when the playbook feels like second nature instead of a crash course.
Will this thing get 5 million views on it? We could end up having a monster preseason rating for this game. LeBron James showing love for Shedeur Sanders' preseason debut. Right here, look, keep going up, head down on the grind, head high to the most high. And I don't want to hear it's only preseason, because if he was out there not going in, y'all would be on his ass. That's not a lie. I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but that's not a lie.
The NFL has a way of humbling young quarterbacks. Defenses adjust, the speed of the game catches up, the pressure mounts. But Shedeur just looked like a guy who's already been playing at this level in his head for years, and now he's just catching everyone else up. There's a difference between confidence and delusion. He's firmly in the first category, and you can tell by how effortlessly he shrugged off pressure, how casually he zipped passes into windows that barely existed. Every great quarterback has that it factor, the intangible thing you can't coach. Shedeur's it factor is looking you dead in the eye and silently letting you know you're about to regret underestimating him. The analysts who said he needed more seasoning, they're pretending they meant seasoning in a positive gourmet chef kind of way. The fans who didn't think he'd make an immediate impact, they're now pricing out jerseys with his name on the back like it's a limited edition collector's item.
Shedeur Sanders made the entire National Football League look like a whole bunch of petty fools. In some cases, racist fools. In many cases, Dion despising fools. Tonight at Carolina, Shedeur Sanders made all those teams that had 143 chances to draft him before he went 144th. He shamed all of them, including the Cleveland Browns, who finally took him in the 5th round.
And the best part, he hasn't even tapped into his full arsenal yet. You can see it in the way he's reading defenses, the way he's already predicting coverages mid-snap. He's learning faster than anyone anticipated, which means this ceiling everyone keeps talking about. That's just the attic. He's about to build a whole extra floor on top. If the Browns' game plan was to slowly integrate him into the system, they might have to tear up that plan entirely. because this wasn't a one-off miracle, it was the kind of performance that screams sustainability. So yeah, Shedeur didn't just silence the critics. He hit the mute button, unplugged the microphone, and locked the studio door. And now, the same people who didn't want to give him the keys to the offense are going to have to hand them over permanently. Because when you see a night like this, you don't think, good job, kid. You think, clear the schedule? We might be watching the start of something ridiculous. And the thing about ridiculous, it's only going to get more fun from here.